What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. It is finally time for Season 3 of the Premier League predictions, and it is a tasty week that we have to start off with. Of course, Manchester City and Manchester United's games have been postponed because they were in the latter stage of the European tournament, even though I don't understand that because that was pretty much a month ago at this point. But either way, we have the Premier League predictions, and just like in every single episode of last season, of which we didn't actually miss a single video, which is epic, please drop your predictions down in the comments below, and I'll be picking one of you guys to shout out in the next week's episode of the Premier League predictions, which will be up in a week's time. So without any further delay, let's get into these fixtures. Kicking it off, the first game of the season, the early kickoff, we have Fulham up against Arsenal. Now obviously Fulham, newly promoted from the Championship after just 1 year in the Championship. You could argue that they were quite lucky to go up, especially in the manner that they did. I think a lot of people wanted Brentford to get to the Premier League, but Fulham managed to do it regardless. They did look a little bit shaky here and there in the Championship. Obviously, yeah, you know, they didn't finish in the top 2 automatic promotion spots, so that stands to reason that they had a bit of a shaky season at times, with Leeds and West Brom beating them out in the table positioning, and Brentford as well, of course. Arsenal managed to pick up some silverware already. I know it's only the Community Shield, but to be fair, to get to the Community Shield, you have to win the FA Cup or the League, and obviously we know Arsenal, so we know it's not going to be the League anytime soon, but I'm pretty sure the last 5 times at least, I think this decade, Arsenal have won the FA Cup. They've gone on to win the Community Shield, so they've beaten out the Premier League champions every single time, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm very, very excited for this first game. I think it's a good game for Arsenal, particularly to get first up. Typically, sometimes away trips can be quite tough, but I think, you know, no fans, it's not too far away, Fulham from Arsenal, of course, and the last 2 games between the two have seen a lot of goals. Fulham scoring 1 in each game, and I believe Arsenal scoring 4 and 5. 4 and 5-1? It might be that. It might be 3-1. I'm not entirely sure from memory. But I think it's going to be another similar game. I think with Arsenal's defence, although they have tightened things up and they were looking pretty good towards the end of the season. Obviously, they kept Liverpool down to 1 goal in the Community Shield final. And, of course, they beat Manchester City in the semi-final of the FA Cup without conceding. So, whilst their defence is looking better and they've made a few new signings, which is all great, I do think first game of the season, Fulham are going to find a way through the Arsenal defence, but I do think it'll be in vain. So I'm going to give Arsenal a 3-1 win over Fulham to start off their season well and put Fulham down towards the bottom of the table, where I do, to be fair, suspect them to finish. Now, the next game is Crystal Palace up against Southampton. Crystal Palace looking very poor towards the end of last season. I don't think winning a single game after the restart. Southampton, alternatively, ever since they lost 9-0 to Leicester and Hassan Hutel has really got a hold of them, they've looked really, really good, and they're my outside shout to push for top half table finish this season. Last season, I didn't give them that much of a chance. I had them finishing lower to mid-table last season. So I'm very excited for this one as well. It should be interesting to see how it pans out. Southampton have a very good record against Crystal Palace. Certainly a recent record either way. And they won last time at Selhurst Park, scoring 2 goals. I think Palace will find a way through again. I'm giving a lot of teams here, perhaps you could say somewhat of a consolation goal in the first week, because I think first week of the season, they'll have a bit to prove and they'll want to get on the score sheet, of course. And I know Palace typically perform better away from home, but I'm still going to give them a goal, but ultimately giving Southampton the win. Perhaps Danny Ings to get back on the score sheet for his hunt for the Golden Boot this season, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Southampton. Now, the next game, it's a big one. It is Liverpool up against Leeds. Now, I think this is going to be, it's an exciting fixture in theory, but it's first game of the season. I think it'll be very much business as usual for Liverpool. I could be wrong here, and how insane would it be if Leeds turn up and just beat Liverpool? You know, champions of the Championship versus champions of the Premier League, and it's the first day of the season, so anything can happen. Leeds could win, although I've given a lot of consolation goals out so far. I'm not going to give one to Leeds because I think Liverpool are just, I think they're just going to do what they usually do and get a fairly low scoring, potentially even scrappy, a bit rusty win. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Liverpool, but I will be keeping a keen eye on this game because I'm actually kind of hoping for a Leeds upset. It would really start the league off in an interesting way. Now, the next game is West Ham up against Newcastle. Now, before a few days ago, I would have said West Ham would win this one. Newcastle have made a couple signings, or I should say Bournemouth graduate FC. Of course, they had, back in the day, Matt Ritchie going from Bournemouth to Newcastle, but now big signings of Callum Wilson and Ryan Fraser, make them look a lot more threatening going forward, which was in fact their problem. There still are defensive issues with Newcastle. Likewise for West Ham. West Ham actually losing to Bournemouth in a pre-season friendly 5-3, and I think this is going to be another high-scoring game. The last two meetings between these two teams, both teams scored at least 2 goals, a 2-2 draw and a 3-2. So I'm going to go for another draw because I think it's going to be tough to separate these teams with the new reinforced Newcastle and West Ham, who should be doing better in the league than they have been. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw once again. Now the next game is West Brom up against Leicester. This is actually going to be quite a tricky one, I think. Typically, you'd expect Leicester to win this one, of course, but I do also think, and I said in my first video, I don't think Leicester are going to push to the heights that they did last season in this year's Premier League season. I think West Brom are going to struggle, but since I made my Premier League prediction video, West Brom have made a couple of signings, so looking to reinforce their team a little bit. So I think this is actually going to be very, very close, and I was tempted to put a draw because I think Leicester, a lot of people will look at that quickly and think Leicester firm favourites. We know Leicester, West Brom have just come up in second place and they're not looking too strong. Everyone will be expecting Leicester, and I think West Brom will actually put in a good performance because they are the underdogs. So I was very tempted to go for a 1-1 draw. Am I brave enough to go for a 1-1 draw? No, I'm not. I wish I was, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Leicester. But if this comes up as a 1-1 draw, I will be kicking myself indeed. Now, the next game, Tottenham up against Everton. Another game, I wish I was brave enough to go for a 1-1 draw, and I was very, very close. If it was at Goodison Park, I'd probably say 1-1 or 2-2 between these two teams. But I think Spurs at home will be looking to start off their season with a win. That's, of course, what Mourinho would want to start the season off with. I think it's going to be very, very close. Obviously, Everton have finally and officially completed the signing of James Rodriguez. So Everton, I think they're going to do quite well this season. It's Ancelotti's first full season in charge, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it's going to be very, very exciting. Is it Mourinho's first full season in charge as well? I think it might be. So I think it's going to be, again, a very close game. I'm just giving it to Spurs, just on essentially the not so much non-existent but very small home advantage without the fans. Just the fact that overall they are slightly better and they did finish the season in a fairly decent run of form. So I'm just going to give this one to Spurs, 2-1. But again, it's another potential draw candidate. Speaking of draw candidate, we have Sheffield United up against Wolves. Now, originally I was going to go for a 2-1 away win because I think Sheffield United do have a goal in them, but I think Wolves, basically my thought process behind this one was that Wolves will find a way to win. And if I had to do a prediction for this game, it would be draw half-time, Wolves full-time, whether that was 0-0 half-time and 1-0 full-time, or 1-1 half-time and 2-1 full-time. I think it's going to be very close, very closely contested, and be a draw at half-time. And I think Wolves will find a way to win it from the 70th to the 90th minute. I'm going to go the 78th minute. That's just the one that's screaming out at me. But you never know. It could be a 2-1 win because I think Sheffield United do potentially have a goal in them. But I think on the basis that I've already gone for 3 2-1 predictions this week already, I'm going to change it up a bit. A bit like the Europa League against Sevilla, low scoring. I'm going to go for a 1-0 away win to Wolves. Obviously, in the Europa League, Wolves didn't actually triumph against Sevilla. But I think Wolves keep it tight. I'm going to go low scoring because Sheffield United keep it tight as well. Could be 2-1. I'll be kicking myself if it is, but I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to Wolves. Now, the final fixture is Brighton up against Chelsea. I've got another consolation goal of sorts, you could say, in here. I think Brighton looking more like a Premier League outfit now. They've made some good signings. Obviously, they have signed Adam Lallana. I don't think he's going to absolutely light up the Premier League because, I mean, there's a reason he wasn't, a main starter for the first team for Liverpool when they had their good squad, I suppose you could say. But I think Chelsea are going to be one to watch this year, of course. They've got some really exciting signings. I'm not sure if Hakim Ziyech will be playing. It's possible that he is injured. I probably need to look into that a little bit more. But Brighton are decent and they have a habit of scoring 1 goal, against whoever they're playing. And they've done it against Chelsea a few times. They drew 1-1 last time out, I believe. But I think Chelsea, going forward, are very exciting. I think Timo Werner and Aubameyang, actually, are my 2 candidates to go for the Golden Boot. I think you could say Aguero, but he usually gets injured. And Harry Kane always seems to just fall short of the mark, either with an injury or just a patch of poor form. Werner looks really likely to score a lot of goals, and I'm very, very excited to see how that goes. So I'm going to go for a high-scoring 3-1 win to Chelsea, which is, it's all kicking off. And if the games go the way that I think they will go, then Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal will be the top 3 teams in the league with a +2 goal difference. So that is going to do it for this video and my Premier League Week 1 predictions. If you did enjoy it, please do smash a like. We are, of course, on the road to 10,000 subscribers. The goal is to hit that by the end of the year, which I think we will do. Leave your predictions down in the comments below. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and I will see you in that next video very soon.